Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the Checker Crochet Baby Blanket just like you see here. This is a really neat concept and you're thinking that you're going to change a lot of colors, but you're not. So in today's pattern I'm going to show you how to work this pattern. It's really quite simple. I'm going to break it down just in case you want to make it a larger size, and also I'm going to show you the little bit of a secret that's happening on the side of the blanket that you really can't see and you can get away with as well. So let's take a look at this further. So here's our yarn of choice. It's a Bernat Baby Blanket Tiny, and it's a smaller version of Bernat Blanket. It's much smaller here. You can make baby clothing with this, and you can make really nice baby blankets with this without the weight of the regular Bernat Blanket yarn. So this is a really neat concept. You need 3 different colors for this, and you'll see that here that it has the breakdown. So you have 2 balls of the polar bear, you have 2 balls of gray owl, and 2 balls of seedling in order to make this whole thing. The baby blanket is approximately 40 inches square. Today's pattern I'm going to show you how to break down this pattern because there's a diagram that's included on page number 2. So let's flip the page and show you that. So here we have is the blown up diagram. It is on page number 2 just like you see here with the written set of instructions. So I've blown it up here just to make it easier for you to follow, and I've done a sample just like you see. So here's a blown up diagram of it. There's a matter of a repeat pattern, and the repeat pattern is in multiples of 6 plus 5. So you're thinking to yourself, and I thought to myself, it's going to be in multiples of 3 because you see 3 here and then 3 and then 3 and then 3 and etc. But it's actually multiples of 6 plus 5, and the reason for it is that you have to get through a total of 6 before it can repeat itself because of the way that it's checkering out on each other. So if you do multiples of 3 you may have an odd number coming out to the end. So you need to have multiples of 6 plus 5. On the very sides here you'll see that the yarn is carrying up quite nicely. It's kind of blended in with it. There is no border with this. That doesn't mean you can't put one on here. You have to choose the right color if you're going to do that. I've also changed the very ending row so that the very ending row is nice and tight, because the way that it's written here is that you'll have a loop here that will show, and if you want a nice closed in look I'll cover that as well, how to close that off so it looks very similar to the way that you get started. So let me tell you a little bit more about this pattern and then we're going to dive in. So as we get started on this pattern you're going to notice that it's kind of really fiddly in the very beginning. So just the first few rows is kind of fiddly in your hands, but once you get a little bit of a rows into place it gets easier to hold because you're jumping around on this yarn. So the nice thing about it is that you're using the same color across each one. So if you're using the white is just buried underneath the yellow here. It's still there but it's buried and then it appears again. So there's no carrying of yarn up underneath anything. It's a matter of 3 double crochets and then chain 3, 3 double crochets and chain 3. Now what makes this really quite nice is that because if I pull it apart, do you see how the yellow is going across underneath these stitches? You can do that. You can see it if you really pull it apart. So it's adding a bit of a thickness to the blanket without being too overly heavy, and I think that's a really kind of a cool thing. So here in the diagram what we have is that we have sets of 3. So you have 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 3, and then 3 double crochet. So the 3 chains here equals a double crochet. So in the blue row when you go up, so you're going to be starting on this side, is that you'll chain up 3 which equals your chain 3, and then when you go to double crochet you're going to double crochet back down into the starting chain and going to cover right over top of these 3 chains here, and then you're going to chain 3 and then do the same thing. So right where you chain 3, the next time you come back into this in row number 3 you're going to go up over top of that chain 3 and bury it, and that's what gives it the look of the checkerboard, is that colors are just over top of each other to create the same look. So you can do any kind of colors that you want to. So let's begin to work on this pattern together, and I'm going to show you the ins and outs of getting started. So let's get started today. You can either chain 155 to match it so that you get your 40 inches. If not, you can just chain in multiples of 6 and then add 5 at the very end. So what you need to do is that you need a size 4mm a G crochet hook in order to play. Just for tutorial reasons I'm using a 4.5mm size and G as well, just to have it a little bit of a bigger hook. So obviously the bigger the hook the more yarn you will use. So let's insert our hook into the slip knot and let's begin. So you can chain either 155 or you can do multiples of 6. So I'm going to do multiples of 6 just as a small sample. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Is it big enough? Yes or no? If not, just continue again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Big enough? Yes or no? If not, continue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And when you're satisfied with it, at the very end of your chain, and I'm gonna say I'm satisfied now, I'm gonna add an additional 5. So it's multiples of chain of 6 plus 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we keep this color into play, and then we begin row number 1 together. So to begin row number 1, we need to count back to the 4th chain, so in order to make that work. So we're just count it back. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and go to the 4th and double crochet into position. So the chains that you just skipped equals a double crochet, and then you just put a double crochet in there, so that gives you 2, and then you're gonna double crochet into the next chain. And so then you begin to do the same stitch work going across. So you're gonna chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. This will get buried in the future, and then you're going to skip 3 chains. So 1, 2, 3. Go to the 4th one over and double crochet. You can always fake it or make it with Bernat blanket. That's one thing I love about this particular yarn. So, okay, so you just jumped over, and then you're gonna double crochet the next 2 chains as well. Because it's nice and fluffy, it really hides errors that you may do. Not saying that you're going to, just saying that if you did, you probably could fake it or make it, right? So you just continue to do that same thing going all the way across your chain. So chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Skip 3 chains here on here. So 1, 2, 3, and go to the 4th, and go into the 4th again for 3 double crochets in a row, and then chain 3, and then the next 3 are double crochets, and do that all the way across. Let me just meet you at the end of this when you get there, and I'll see you there in just a moment. So here we have the final, and what we have is we have 3 double crochets in a row, so the chain 3 counted as 1, and then we skip 3 and then 3, skip 3 and 3, and then at the very end you will have a 3 in a row. So the very final one that we do is something that you have to get used to doing for this particular pattern. So you're gonna double crochet as normal, but you're gonna stop when there's 2 loops on the hook, and what I want you to do is that I want you to grab another yarn color instead. So leave an extra long tail, and you can bury that in later, and just using your bearing techniques, and then just put it onto the hook and pull through, and then that gets that color ready for the next time. So we're going to drop then the gold color here. We're gonna leave it there, and we're gonna continue on then with the green right here. So let's start off with the green, and we're just gonna turn our work, and to begin what we have to do is that the double crochets are gonna fall into place where there's chain 3s, and right where there's double crochets in place you're gonna chain 3. So that means that when we start we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. See, that carries you over top of the other double crochets that are there, and then what you're going to do is that you're going to play within this chain down here, not this one, and you're going to double crochet, and you're gonna wrap the hook going into that chain way down there. And again, I promised you that the first part of this is really fiddly, but it gets really easy once you get started. So then you're just going to wrap the yarn over top of the other chain that's there, so just as you normally would, and pull through, and you're just double crocheting right up over top of that, and that forces that chain 3 that you had to sit down underneath. So then you move to the next one, and that's 2 rows below, and you double crochet right up over top of that chain 3 that exists, and then you do, and there's only 3 in a row, right? So you do all 3. So now the double crochets are here. So you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. So you jump over those, and then you start in this chain down here right where I'm pinching. So then you just wrap the hook and just double crochet into that chain, going up over top of the other chain. Okay, and you continue on in that same manner going all the way across. So you're creating new chain 3 spaces that will get covered in the next row that you do. So there's always going to be these chain 3 spaces happening. So then chain 3, and then you were going to then just jump over, and you were going to then come into the next chain down, and to finish off this one here all you just need to do, I'm just grabbing the other colors just coming in line. So to finish off this row here, you already have 3 double crochets in the end, so all you need to do is chain 3. And then when you go to insert this one into the very first one, you're going to insert in, and then you're going to drop that color, and you're gonna grab your new color that you've been seeing popping through. So it's been the white that wants to come up, so the white is gonna come up, create a slip knot first and a long tail. You'll hide that in later, and then just put that onto the hook and pull through and through, so then the white is then ready for next time. So you're going to turn your work and then carry on with the white. So get the green out of your way and just only use the white going forward, and then we're gonna carry on going across as you see it. So you're going to let the other tails hang off. So there's only one green that leads to the ball. The white one here is just the end that we started with. So to start this one here, you'll notice that there's a space right away. So we're gonna chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. And the next 2 in a row will be into this gold one down here. So just wrap the hook and going right into the gold, and just go right up over top of that green one that you see. And that'll hide that green. So you do that one plus the next one. And then you chain 3. So see how there's double crochet there? So you're just gonna chain 3, which jumps over top, and then you were going to then come into the next one here, but this time now it's no longer working into the chains, you're working into the 3 gold double crochets that are here, right here, and you go up over top of that chain 3, which is in the green. So it's a great way of hiding colors for this without actually having to do graphghan work. The only thing that you gotta watch out for is that every now and then you just have to make sure your yarn's not getting tangled from your yarn balls, because you are using 3 at the same time. So chain 3, and then coming into the next gold, and do all 3 of them like that. So as you get back to the other side here, what's gonna happen is that you're going to bring back gold once again, and the gold is already sitting there waiting for you to grab. So chain 3. So go into the final 3 golds. So 1, let me try that again. Go into the final 3. My tension got a little loose there. And go right into the final one, and what are you not gonna do? You're not gonna finish it. You're gonna let it hold, and then you're going to bring back now the gold, and you're just gonna lightly just kind of push it up, okay, and then just pull it through. So it's already sitting part of your project. Just tighten it up a little bit, and then turn your work, and then just drop then the white, let the white go out of the way, and then you're gonna carry on using gold going up to the next one. So as you begin again, you're going to start it, and you're gonna notice 3 double crochets in a row. So that tells you immediately you're gonna have to start with the chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and just carry over and just start the first one right over here, right where I'm pitching, and you'll put your 3 double crochets into this green section. See how easy that is? So it's just a matter of identifying how you get started, and because it's now getting more and more into your hands, you'll find that you'll speed up as well. I know I did. So chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then just jump over and just keep filling in the spots. So right where the chain 3s already exist, you just keep on going. Now the pattern is written so that you finish off and you have these chain 3 spaces at the end. I would not do that, because the fact is that when you started it, you don't have that down here at the very base. So I'm gonna teach you how to finish that off so that you don't have any chain 3 spaces, because I can imagine somebody leaving a complaint that that there's gonna be loops at the end of a blanket and for baby fingers and etc. So I can see that being a concern, and I think it's probably pretty valid too. So just to finish off, you just chain 3, because you started off with the chain 3 on one side. That's why you did the chain multiples of 6 plus 5, and then you just go into the top of the first chain 3 here, and then just pull. Okay, so just pull like that, and then just grab the next color. So the next one will be green. Okay, so always just look for it, which color's next. So it was gold, green, white, gold, green, white. So just turning it. So then as you start, you see that there's a chain 3 space. Okay, so just carry on. So you're just gonna chain 3. So then you know that you're gonna have to put in your double crochets right into this first one. So just go jumping down, and then chain 3 to move across. So 1, 2, 3, and then continuing on. So just do the same thing going across, and when I come back I'm gonna show you how to what I would do to finish this off so that you don't end up with a chain 3 space at the very final, so you have a nice closed in blanket for your baby. So you're just gonna grow this to the size that you want to grow it, and then in the very final, let's just say that we're gonna do our final. This is not as per the pattern. This is an ad lib to prevent that chain 3 space at the end. So I'm just gonna grab up my white and finish off this row as I normally would. I'm gonna show you how to weave in the tails too. So what I would do in the very final round, or the very final row, do you see how you have like double crochets and then you have appears to be yellow and then double crochets again? So what I would do is chain up 1, and right where there's double crochets, just double crochet, or sorry, just single crochet into that space, into those stitches, right? So then that covers you there, and then you go down and jump down. Okay, so you'll just jump down, do your double crochets as normal. So this is preventing you from creating any more chain 3 spaces, okay, for the exterior of the baby blanket, just in case that's a concern for you. So then what happens here is that you just carry on. So right where there's double crochets, you were just going to single crochet instead of doing a chain 3. And you're gonna do that all the way across just like that. When I come back I'll have that done for you, and then I'll show you how to weave in the tails just in case you need a refresher. So as I come all the way to the end, I'm just doing this technique of just making sure that the blanket is nice and close. If you want to do a border, that's up to you. Just do a single crochet border and then put 3 single crochets in each corner if you want to do that. So now that, let's just say I'm done, and I'm just gonna trim off my yarn just enough that I can put a darning needle through it, and I'm just gonna pull through. So with the darning needle, this stuff's really easy to hide in because it's nice and fluffy, but just put it onto a darning needle and then get rid of those loose ends. So don't just tuck it, just glide it up underneath the stitches, and if you know me, then you just glide it through 3 times. So just glide once, okay, just make sure you don't have extra tension, and then go back a second time and a third time once again. And so then that will permanently be in position. So that third time is the charm, it's the secret. And so you're gonna look through your blanket and you're gonna notice that you have tail ends. So when you have it starting, you'll have to hide those in. But all the ones that you finished off, okay, so this is still attached to the ball, is this, I'm gonna trim it off and I'm going to hide in that particular piece. So you're gonna have these tails left at the end, just 3 tails left. Because you have 3 balls to work with. And so right where the color ended, I want you to go in and keep it with that same color only, so don't mix it. So just going in 1, going into that same color for twice, and 3 times is a charm. So just go in again 3 times, staying within that color, and you're done. So the ones that you carried up the sides, you'll kind of see it a little bit, but nothing crazy. So I gotta hide in this. This is starting, but you'll see it a little bit so that you can see the green carried up, but it kind of blends really nicely. And again, if you want to do a single crochet border, you can hide that in as well. So this is how you do this particular blanket. It's actually a pretty easy idea, and once you get used to it, you'll see that your stitch work is gonna look pretty amazing, and it's really quite easy. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.